Welcome back to another episode of From the Couch Sports. I believe this is episode 24, and I'm your host, Connor. If you enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I only got a few things to touch on today. Once the football season kind of dies down as far as the football offseason goes, we're kind of winding down towards the end of the NBA postseason as well. And to be honest, I don't really follow a whole lot of these other sports. I'm gonna probably start having to soon. Like with baseball and hockey and everything going on as well. But I do want to talk about the game we just had, Game 6. Miami is down 3-2 in Boston, and Boston had the opportunity to close the game out. And Jimmy Butler just put on the game of his life. One of the best single games by any Heat player of all time. He had 47 points tonight, and then 9 rebounds and 8 assists. So he was a rebound and 2 assists away from a near 50-point triple-double. Just completely carried the Heat to win this game. And, the Heat didn't have a whole lot of other offensive production besides Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry had one of his best games in the playoffs with 18 points. He actually shot really well. I think 4 for 9 from 3. But then Bam Adebayo, he had 4 points in the very end of the second half, or very end of the first half, and then 2 points in the entire second half. To win Game 7, we're gonna need a lot more out of the supporting cast that Jimmy Butler has. He can't do this every single night, and for the Heat, you can't expect him to do that every single night either. Although he has done it more routinely than many others do. He's had multiple 40-point games in this playoffs, even in this series. To be honest, I thought the Celtics were going to win this game. I thought they were going to put the Heat away. But now we go into Game 7 back in Miami. So it's been this weird, back and forth. Pretty much the whole series has been 20-point blowouts, one way or the other. We saw Boston take Game 2. And then Miami, I think took Game 4. So the home court advantage went back and forth. Now it's back in Miami's hands. And Game 7 is going to be incredible on Sunday. Both of these teams are really good teams. And when they're both playing, it makes for very fun basketball. And that's kind of what we haven't seen the whole series. It's been one team shows up, the other team doesn't really. So I'm really hoping that we get a good Game 7. Obviously, I'm a Miami Heat fan, so I want Miami to win for sure. But nonetheless, I want a good game. I'd prefer a close game versus a blowout, even if it does mean the Heat win either way. And then I want to touch on the Warriors Mavericks Game 5. Warriors put this thing away. If they weren't getting blown out in Game 4, they could have swept the series. But Klay Thompson had a 32-point game in Game 5. Andrew Wiggins had another 18, and Draymond had 17. So they got a lot of support. Klay Thompson's coming into his own. He's looking really good this playoff series. And now the Warriors are advancing to the finals. And we're sitting on the brink of potentially a second run of the Warriors all-time dynasty. It's kind of crazy to think, because their stretch from 2015 to 2019, they won 3 rings and they lost 2. So they went, I think, 5 years in a row, something like that. And they lost the year where LeBron had the crazy comeback in the finals. Kyrie hit the game-winning shot, or the shot. And then they also lost the year that KD and Klay got hurt in the finals against the Raptors. But honestly, both of those years they could have won very easily. They were so close in both of those series. The Raptors series, if they had more health, they would have won for sure. The Cavs series, there's a lot on that. This is some years ago, but a lot of people debated, is if Draymond doesn't get suspended, do the Warriors win the series? Just a lot of different things there. But nonetheless, we haven't seen this happen. Honestly, I can't think of it happening ever, at least since I've watched basketball since the early 2000s. You got a dynasty that has kind of two down years, 2020, 2021. they had a decent year, but like, you had a couple down years, and then they just load up with draft picks. You lose Kevin Durant, but you get a ton of draft capital, and then they just hit on all their picks. It seems like, and they just have so much young talent, and then you get your all-time Hall of Fame players back healthy and into the swing of things. So now it's not just Steph and Clay and Draymond. It's Jordan Poole off the bench. They're gonna get Gary Payton back most likely in the finals. Andre Iguodala might even come back. Otto Porter, like Andrew Wiggins. This team is just so deep. They have the firepower from everywhere. The only thing they really don't have is like a legit big man. But then Kevon Looney has been awesome in this playoffs. He just completely dominated the Mavericks. Had tons of multiple games where he had like 15 plus boards. So like he's playing out really well for the Warriors. And right now, like regardless of who wins, Heat or Celtics in Game 7, I think most people are gonna lean towards the Warriors being the favorite. That's not to say that they're unbeatable. It's also not to say that like it's not going to be a good series, because I think whoever makes the finals, I think they're going to give the Warriors a good series, maybe be a 6-7 game series as well. But it's just crazy to see, and we really are. We're watching history being made in basketball. These type of things don't come around very often. Like you look back at the history of the game, you had this. Honestly, like this Warriors team might rival the Celtics from like the 60s. Bill Russell winning, I think, 11 championships in 13 years. Then you had like the 80s Lakers were a big one. 90s Bulls, of course. The early 2000s Lakers. But like this Warriors team, I think they already went to 5, so they're going to their 6th championship. And who knows how much longer they can go with this. And especially with the young guys kind of coming into their own. Like James Wiseman's not even been healthy at all. If he could become like the player they drafted him to be, I think he was taken number 2 overall. You get Jordan Poole like developing into a legit all-star type of player. This team is going to be dangerous for years to come, and we really could see like maybe another 5-year stretch where they're making the finals maybe not every year, because there's a lot of parity right now in the NBA. But we could see like maybe they make it 3 out of 5 times in the next 5 years. And that would put them like literally to be able to rival some of the all-time great NBA teams, and being one of the best dynasties ever. And it's just crazy to see like, Steph Curry's already set all these records shooting the ball, and he's just further putting the stamp on his career. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the greatest players ever. Probably the most impactful player as far as changing the game of basketball like that we've ever seen. And it's crazy fun to watch. I like watching this Warriors team when they're not like, when they had Kevin Durant, in my opinion, it felt like they're trying to buy championships. It's like you guys built all this talent that was already winning championships and going every year. And then you just go out and you sign the best player, one of the best players in basketball, and you get basically 2 rings out of it. But I think they're more likable now, with how things have kind of gone, because we saw it. We saw the year they didn't. I think 2 years in a row they didn't make the playoffs even. So I think this is going to set up for a very fun NBA championship, whether it be the Celtics or the Heat versus the Warriors. And that kind of caps on the NBA Finals. We're going to do some more kind of more in-depth content as the finals approach. Like I said, I'm going to do more like NBA. We're going to do a mock draft here. Probably going to release that about a week before the NBA draft. I want to see, like, because after the finals, I do believe there's going to be potentially some big name players traded. So maybe some picks getting moved around and things like that. So got to tune in for those things. This week, actually, we don't really have any MMA events. There's no UFC, no Bellator, to my knowledge. The big event as far as the combat sports arena goes is Gervonta Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero. Gervonta is 26-0 with 24 knockouts, and Rolly Romero is 14-0 with 12 knockouts. So Tank Davis is like massive favorite in this fight. I think he's like a minus 900. I checked yesterday on FanDuel. That could have changed. Maybe he's even a bigger favorite at this point, leading up to the fight tomorrow. But like this, it's funny because like Tank Davis hasn't. He's fought some guys like Isaac Cruz and some other guys that are very talented. I think Rolly Romero is going to be a good challenge for him, but also like this is Rolly Romero's biggest fight by far. He's they're both younger guys in the sport of boxing, and I think they've got a lot of potential to have good careers. If I had to make a bet on like who's going to win this fight, like Tank Davis is the favorite for a reason. He is a little bit more like battle tested. He's been in more fights. He still has the insane KO streak, and like he gets heat because I don't think he finished Isaac Cruz. I might be wrong, but there was one of his last fights he didn't get a finish in, and he actually had like a broken hand. So a lot of fans are just like hating on the guy because he didn't get a finish in a fight that he had a broken hand, and like he still won the fight. He's still undefeated. So I think that's funny. Just the way fans are in certain sports. They're gonna hate on people no matter what, just because they dislike the guy and what have you. Another interesting like fact story going into this fight is Tank Davis has been under the Mayweather Promotions banner, Floyd Mayweather's promotion group, and this is his final fight with the promotion. I don't think he's like super happy with the way things have panned out. He's still like a big star in the sport of boxing, so I think he's probably getting to a point where like he doesn't really need to be under Floyd's promotion. Like he can go out there and make his own name for himself. I'm curious like what that does with the kind of relationship that he has with Floyd though. Like Floyd is literally sitting at most of his fights like ringside. Like a couple of the fights most recently, like Floyd has even came into the corner and given him advice during the fight. So I'm probably not expecting that to continue after this fight. But I'm curious to see because I think both of these guys, Tank Davis has, a ton of potential to be a great in the sport of boxing, and so does Rolly Romero. I'm really excited for this fight this weekend. Not a whole lot of other, sports this weekend. At least the sports that I cover for the most part. We're going to do another video after Game 7. Probably going to recap this Tank Davis fight as well. But like I said, this is going to be a shorter video. If you enjoy the content, please like the videos and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for tuning in.